everybody, and thank you for making time to join us, both the panelists and the participants for having made time to be here with us today. So I will start by introducing what we are discussing today. And it gives me immense pleasure to welcome everybody. So very good evening and welcome to our second webinar in Women Who Lead series. I am Kanksshi Agarwal, the founder of NETRI Foundation, and thank you for joining us here. NETRI Foundation, in partnership with SheThePeople TV, a digital news platform dedicated to stories on women, launched Women Who Lead series to discuss and bring nuanced perspectives and experiences on various aspects relating to women in politics. NETRI Foundation is a not-for-profit, non-partisan organization working to amplify equal and effective participation of women in political leadership and decision-making at every level of representation. We do this by training and capacity building, bringing data and issue-based politics at the center of women's campaign, and by building a discourse on important themes pertaining to women in politics. Women Who Lead series is an effort in the same direction, and we are very, very thankful to SheThePeople TV for enabling these conversations and extending the partnership. I would now like to introduce our distinguished panel, which actually needs no introduction, but it is just, I will take my pride in introducing them all today. And I will go in the alphabetical order, that is the easiest. So the first panelist for today's session on technology, women, and politics is Honorable Miss Atishi. Atishi ji is an Indian politician. She's an educator, political activist, and an MLA from Kalkaji in New Delhi. She is a member of the Political Affairs Committee of Aam Aadmi Party. She served as advisor to the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, Manish Sisodia ji, primarily on education from July 2015 to April 2018. Both a Chevening and Rhodes Scholar who went to Oxford for her studies, has been pivotal in changing the face of education in our national capital. Our second panelist for today is Honorable Miss Diya Kumari, who will be joining us in some time. So I'll reserve the introduction when she joins us. I will move on to our amazing and dear guest, Honorable Miss Jothimani ji. Jothimani ji is an Indian politician, writer, and social worker. A member of the Indian National Congress, she was elected to Lok Sabha from Karur, Tamil Nadu in 2019. Having joined politics at a very young age of 22, she served separate terms as the General Secretary and Vice President of Indian Youth Congress and Tamil Nadu Youth Congress, respectively. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I will move on to our third and final speaker of the evening, the panelist, Mr. Osama Manzar. Osama Manzar is a global leader on the mission of eradicating information poverty from India and Global South using digital tools through the Digital Empowerment Foundation, an organization he founded in 2002. A British Chevening scholar as well, and an International Visitors Leadership Program fellow of the US State Department. Mr. Osama is a social entrepreneur, author, columnist, angel investor, mentor, and sits on several government and policy committees in India and outside, working in the areas of internet, access, and digital inclusion. So we welcome you today, Mr. Manzar. Thank you for joining this panel. And now introducing the moderator for the Stylar panel, and who will be shouldering the responsibility of, putting together all these participants and their views at the spotlight, and give them the opportunity to talk about their experiences today, is Mr. Krishnan Pallassana. He's the country director India of Digital Green and an advisor to NETRI Foundation. Mr. Krishnan comes with more than 25 years of experience in sustainable development sectors ranging from climate resilience to women's empowerment. He served as the CEO of Population Foundation of India, India Director for the Climate Group, and Country Director in Afghanistan for Action Aid International. Mr. Krishnan has often joined organizations at times when they are making a strategic pivot and enable them to scale and deepen their impact. So thank you again for agreeing to moderate this panel, and now over to you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Kanksshi, and let me start by congratulating NETRI and SheThePeople for organizing this fabulous event. Hello and welcome everyone to this webinar. Especially to our distinguished guests who are on the panel, who have taken some time out of their busy schedule to join us to discuss this topic of immense interest to all of us. This not only underlines their commitment to women and politics in India, but I'm sure that their words will mean a lot to our listeners as well as to those millions of women who are looking for inspiration to take up active role in politics. Now, topic of today's discussion is technology, women, and politics, which is actually followed by a very profound question: can technology enable women's leadership in democracy? Well, who else than our erudite panel members here to answer this interesting question? Now, in recent years, we have seen a major transformation to what we call as the public space or social spheres of life, spaces where citizens and people used to come, assemble, and share socially relevant information and opinion. Now, in the recent years, the swift advancement of information and communication technology has created a new type of digital space. While the function seems to be the same, these virtual spaces aided by technology is offering unprecedented levels of speed, cost effectiveness, and reach in mobilizing people, sharing information, and generating opinions. Now, everyone knows about the US presidential elections of 2008 when Obama candidature deployed digital technology effectively to swing voters in his campaign. In 2014, in India, BJP was known to be miles ahead, utilizing the power of technology to unleash a wave of digital campaign. And we have also seen how the same digital and social media platforms are being increasingly used as potent weapons or potent tools to shape public opinions, range and policy discourses at global levels, be it climate change, be it humanitarian crisis, or even global trade. The issues are vast. And this technology, we can see, is also improving governance and efficiency of our administration and bringing about certain levels of transparency in operations at different areas of governance. The mobile telephony revolution started in India in 1990s. While more than a billion Indians have access to uh, uh, telephone services right now, it is estimated that 350 to 400 million Indians have access to smartphones, data services, and also they use platforms like WhatsApp and Facebook. And these numbers are staggering by any count and is expected to grow in the coming years. But the flip side of this fabulous story that is that the Indian society is also witnessing a great digital divide. For example, of all the data and smartphone users, over 70% of them are men, and only a fraction of women are able to access it effectively, usefully. Only 1 out of 4 or 5 women have any kind of social media access as of now. Now, these are very important things because we are seeing the digital technology increasingly influencing the public lives and the social lives. So it is very important for women to have access to this very important tool. Now, this exclusion and disparity seen in internet technology space is bound to affect effective participation and engagement of women in social and political processes. Now, with COVID happening in recent times, creating havoc in our social lives, are women more at risk of getting distanced or being socially and politically engaged? Can digital technology actually help her to become more active and amplify her voice in the political spaces? Can women use this technology to advance her political ambitions and aspirations in the fast changing political economy of India? Let us hear from our panelists their own experiences and the way forward and their perspectives. Now, we have limited time in our hand, which means that I would request our panelists also to be concise and focused in their opinions and answers. We will also, if possible, take some questions that might come from our audience. And I will request the audience actually to use either the chat facility in Zoom or the comment section in Facebook to type in their questions. And being taking the privilege of being a moderator, please allow me to interrupt at times to bring the focus back and then streamline the discussions. And with your permission, I will also try to make it as informal and as personalized sharing experience as possible. thank you once again. And let me start our discussion by posing this first question to Atishi. Atishi, what has been your experience of using digital technology in articulating your vision and opinion? Did you think the technology proved to be an effective tool in reaching and influencing your audience? What was your personal experience in using digital technology?
So I think I just divide the answer in a couple of parts. First of all, I would like to flag that I am a politician based out of Delhi, where access to technology is, of course, much higher than, for example, where Jothimani is the MP from. And so, yes, technology does play an important role. There is no doubt about it. I think in a city like Delhi, especially, where there is probably far greater access to social media, there is the impact of mediums like Facebook, like Instagram, like Twitter, definitely exists. And I think that for people who are politicians, there is two kinds of ways in which it has an impact. One is just something like Twitter. While it might not have a mass appeal, it's a very effective medium to articulate your opinion. And I think that now with the, so just like you can literally make a video holding the phone in your hand, just put it out there and share your opinion, and it can get picked up pretty fast. Having said that, while it is a medium that exists for us to have access, I think that the digital divide that you talk about is very much a reality. So if I was to talk as a woman politician, yes, I think it is useful. I don't necessarily think it's more useful for a woman politician than it is for a male politician. I think that for politicians in general, social media does provide very easy access. In terms of looking at a women audience, I think that there is, to be fair, I think technology is in many ways for any marginalized group highly problematic in terms of the digital divide. For most of us, we forget actually how at one level how almost all marginalized groups are left out of access to technology. For example, like even when the COVID crisis is going on, you can just see a similar trend between private schools and government schools. In private schools, online classes are being carried out for everyone, but the fact is that in government schools, more than half the children don't actually have access to smartphones, tablets, computers, etc., to be able to attend their classes. And so you can see this similar divide that exists for women who are another marginalized group. So even within the family, if there's only one smartphone, that smartphone will belong to the man of the house. If the woman does have a phone, it is far more likely to be that old, like Nokia analog phone with that 123 keypad. So I think that when we are talking about technology, I think we need to keep that divide. We need to be acutely aware of that divide. And I remember when we used to go and campaign during the elections, I think definitely far more face-to-face politics is my understanding is actually far more effective because they do have less access to technology. Their opinions, I think, rather than the digital medium, it is what is coming on television that is shaping women's opinion far more because that is a technology to which they do have access. And so I think that, and of course, we do know about mass media, about how it's controlled, about the finances. So I think that, yes, there is still a long way to go in terms of how effectively in politics one can use mass media to reach out to women, to use digital media to reach out to.
Thank you so much, Atishi. I'm going to come back to you a bit later because you really raised a couple of very interesting points over there. Jyotimani ji, it's also connected to what Atishi mentioned right now, that she finds that face-to-face interaction ultimately proves to be a great tool in effectively communicating with the audience. Now, you are a person who is very much connected to the grassroots, right? And what has been your experience in using technology to talk and reach to your core constituents? And how have you used this technology to help improving the delivery of the mission that you're involved in? We'll be very eager to hear your experiences.
I represent a constituency, it's by and large rural. Out of 6 assembly constituencies, actually only one is urban. The rest is completely rural. 3 assembly constituencies are very much rural. There is barely any connectivity. Even from my own village, only yesterday we got the BSNL have the antenna towards my uh, home, my village where I was living a year back. So that is the situation. Even have an access to. I agree with Ashi that actually mostly we have a direct communication. Even my campaign, I almost in a month of time have addressed 1,800 points. And after the election to connecting with, we have a program called Connecting Karur. I have visited 4,800 villages out of 6,900 villages in my parliamentary constituency. Recently in Tamil Nadu, there is a anti-liquor movement. We are trying to campaign during the COVID time. Even after that, actually, government should not open the liquor shops. Then we try and reach women, 30 lakhs women, actually, with what are the number my party has with the database. We are trying to reach, presume that the name actually is a registration in the woman name. So we surprisingly, we got actually 89% of them are voted against the liquor shops. We were wondering who are this 11%. And we randomly called people. Then we found that mostly the men actually who spoke, the phone is with them. It's not with women. They said actually we are also voted against the liquor shop. Some of them said we voted pro. So even the mobile access in the constituency is very still, there is a huge gap is there. But despite that, actually young generation, they are using the smartphone. They are very active in the social media, especially in my constituency, WhatsApp and Facebook are very famous. Twitter, as Ashi said, actually we are using for shaping our opinion because that's where media get picked up things from our whatever the opinion or issues or what are the fight we are doing in the grassroots level. That social media also was very effective in my election campaign. Even after that, actually, when issues happen, when we go for a railway board meeting, so I asked for the people that who write down what are the issues. 240 suggestions, issues came to me. We consolidated that and we re-evaluated that, and we found that actually most of the issues are really genuine. Then we made a list of issues and we discussed with the railway department. Apart from that, now we are working on a grievance tracking system in my office, because there is always actually people when I used to be in the tour most of the time. So I keep traveling. So I keep receiving grievances from the people. So we'd like to have a system in place, because we are sending papers to concerned departments. We are answerable, we are responsible, we are accountable to people whether this grievance is addressed or not, still pending. If still pending, what is the reason, whether it can be done or cannot be done. If cannot be done, what is the reason, what is the way to actually redress the most of the grievances. So now we are working on that. Almost we are just last 2 weeks we are very much on that. Apart from that, we are actually one of my election promises to work with education and employment. We are trying to create a portal to people register for an employment. Unfortunately, the COVID situation, even before that, though I represent the 4th largest export city, Karur, we have serious trouble. But despite that, actually, we are trying to put a system in place, at least so that we can collect the people's strength or weakness, whatever it is. Then we can work on that. Even its weakness, we are trying to shape them. They need more strength, we can add to the strength. So that's how we are using it. Social media is very powerful, and especially people like me. Recently, I went through when we went for a TV debate. Many of you might be aware, there is a big as usual abuse by my opponent party. So that time, it was even before I get out of my office, social media started trending in favor of me. So that was a huge, that basically the social media support went to again mainstream media, then it's went to public. It was a huge campaign in support of me. So in that way, I feel technology is very much important. But I still feel that everybody frankly knows that how the elections are fought in this country. we have to fight against the huge money power, muscle power. So better to have a direct connection, because even despite that I'm very much active in social media, even mainstream media, but despite that, people love to see me in the ground. When we go to the field and talking to them, sit with them, having a biscuit in a Manarega site, they will bring something to you. They will make 3 stones and make tea or coffee with you. So those things still makes connection better. It's really like something which you really love beyond politics, beyond your campaign, beyond the goodwill, the personal love and the affection which we share with the people. It's mutual. So that's actually play a very crucial role, I think.
Absolutely. I cannot disagree with you on that. The warmth and the personal touch cannot be replaced by any technology platform
I
that
have
way.
to flag you that Miss Diya Kumari ji has joined us
Oh, lovely.
on
Would you
this
like to do
lovely
it?
panel.
Would you please do
Yes,
the honors of introducing her? Right.
absolutely. So, Miss Diya Kumari ji, thank you for making time to join this video with us and to be on this panel today. Uh,
So much for inviting me.
it's always an honor. So I will just do the honorary of introducing you. So Honorable Ms. Diya Kumari ji is an Indian politician. She's a member of parliament from Rajasmand parliamentary seat and a member of the Bharatiya Janata Party. She completed her education in decorative arts from London. Apart from the other 2 trusts and maintenance of royal heritage, she's also involved with the Princess Diya Kumari Foundation, which trains and empowers women from impoverished background. She was also an MLA from 2013 to 2018 from Savai Madhopur in Rajasthan, and also a brand ambassador for Save the Girl Child for Government of Rajasthan during the same time. So we welcome you with very happy hearts and big smiles on our faces. Thank you for being here, and I will pass the mic over to the moderator again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Diya Kumari ji. I'm Krishnan. I will be moderating this session. And there's a penalty for joining late because I'm going to ask you the next question straight away. Okay, right. Now, the topic of discussion today is the impact of digital technology in women's life and her political aspirations. And you belong to a party that actually revolutionized the use of digital technology in political campaigning, and the impact and reach of it was huge, and it's being academically studied right now on how it was being used. How did you use this opportunity in your campaign and mobilization work, and how did you use this facility specifically to reach out to women, and was that useful? Did you face any challenges, not only reach out to women but also as a woman to access this enormous resource that was at the disposal? So if you can share your experiences in a short, that would be very useful.
Thank you so much for inviting me on the webinar. And I think it's a very, very important subject that we're discussing here today. I think this is something even more so because we are living in COVID times and everybody is on social media, on different digital platforms. We are doing webinars, we are doing virtual meetings, virtual rallies are being held. So it's great that, you've decided to do this. And of course, the focus is women and digitalization. So thank you for giving me the opportunity for joining this and being a part of this. What I would like to say is that, of course, I would like to thank the Prime Minister a lot. I mean, the way the whole transformation from 2014 till today, the digital transformation of our country has, it's really, really benefited. The way our government has focused on this. And today we are able to connect digitally with each and every person is a lot to do with how the government worked in the first 5 years of the first term of our government. And the lot of focus, lot of, there was a lot of push to make every place connected digitally. Also, the Wi-Fi connectivity through various like fiber optic connectivity, all the different mobile networks were, way more. It was way more in the last 5 years than before that. So it's really been of use to me in my campaign when I contested the election in 2019, and I used it fully. I used I used social media, I used Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp groups, and many women were connected with me. There was a huge advantage. I think all of us women representatives, public representatives, have an edge over men when it comes to connecting with our women voters. I think that many times women hesitate to contact, if it's a male representative, they hesitate to contact them via WhatsApp or a text message or the various WhatsApp groups or the social media network that they have. So with me, it was a huge advantage. All the women, I could connect with them directly over WhatsApp, over text, over telephones. It was so much easier. And my Facebook, most of my Facebook followers are also women. I think would be like 60-70% women, which is great, which says a lot for, when we speak about whether there is a gender bias, or whether women are less technically savvy or have less, are they not able to get hold of a smartphone or a laptop. I think when it comes to a woman representative, it is a little easier, because even their family members don't mind them getting in touch with us rather than probably a male representative. So in that sense, it was easier for me. And of course, I still feel that there is a gap, there is a gender gap, because way more men are they have access to all these digital the digital technology, to the various means of getting in touch, being on these groups. Women are still a little shy, they're still a little wary. And I think a lot more sensitization, a lot more training, many workshops need to be held at various levels, at the Gram Panchayat level, village level, even in the smaller cities. Women need to be trained how to get access, how to use this technology, because it is all available. It is all there. But I think somehow also lack of education. It will take a long time for all our women to be educated as much as the men are. The opportunities were never there. Now the opportunities are there. We are way more aware of the problems that women face in different spheres, and that women's education is important. Women need to be given their place in society in every way. They need to be represented as much as men do. They're 50% of the population. Come on, they need at least that much representation. And so I think that, of course, is lagging. And I think in time that we will overcome that as well. But in Rajasthan, I would say women are a little bit conservative. The whole, the society is such, the community is such, that they don't really, they're a little wary about, the women going out too much, mixing around too much. They don't really go out so much for the political rallies. But I have seen now during this lockdown, women are so much more easier. They are so happy to be connected to you virtually. So I've had many virtual meetings, virtual rallies also, with my women workers, with the ladies of my area. So I think in a way, it's also an advantage, because these ladies are not sometimes allowed to go for, outside, to go to these meetings, political meetings and all. So in a way, I have seen that it is also an advantage. So they will take the smartphone of their husband or their son or their daughter or somebody from the family, and they'll use it and they'll immediately connect with you. And they are very happy to do that. And actually women are way more, they tell you their problems immediately. They don't hesitate. When it's a woman they're speaking to, they will tell you, this is the problem I'm facing. I want this sorted out. I want my road made. I want my water done. So they are very voluble. They're very, to the point, and they know what they want.
That's
so I
interesting.
think,
Yeah.
Yes, but I would still say there is a gap. But hopefully that gap should, somehow we should be able to balance that, and the gap should reduce, and hopefully we should be able to have as much digital literacy for women as much as for men in the future. I hope so.
Thank you. I'll surely come back to you on how we can actually bridge this digital divide that we are having. But let me move on to our panelist, Osama Manzar. Osama, you have been studying and analyzing impact of digital technology on women's participation in social and political affairs. Based on your experience, can you share how this phenomenon of digitalization of democracy is taking place? Can you also look into, in terms of how people are participating in this democracy using technology, and how is it relevant to women in particular?
Yeah, thank you very much. I first of all like to, thank you very much for including a man in a woman's world of discussion. Tech, women, and politics. I have a few points to share from the ground experiences and numbers, and I'm glad that I'm hearing from the people who are working on the ground, both from urban, rural, and regional areas, and that gives a perfect picture of how technology is as biased as humans are. And that's the first level of politics. I would like to start by saying that if women are more connected, or rather, I would say, women can only save democracy if they are more in technology. Because now technology is, and also can fight patriarchy much better. But that's not the situation at the moment in our country. And I just give you the numbers, is that while it looks like that there is, everybody feels connected and so on and so forth, 88 to 90% of women in rural India have no mobile phones. And this is hard statistics. Only 21% of all women has a means to access internet. So you can imagine, out of 400 million smartphones, 200 million are only in rural India. And you can imagine, if 200 million out of more than 800 million people in rural India has mobile smartphones, how many of them would be reaching to women? Do we feel that internet and technology has touched women? No, it has not. If you count 1 million elected women panchayat members, if you ask, do they have smartphones, mobile? They don't. We have 2 million ASHA workers. Do they have smartphones? Many of them may have, but most of them do not. Most of the women, if you really see, as a user of technology, as a producer of technology, or even among the elected members, how much they have been participating in the policy of technology, you will find that it is very, very low level. So what I'm actually trying to say is that, the reason why the role of technology and internet is playing such a huge role in politics is because, like you're saying, these days elections are fought by forwards, But if you do the survey of all the smartphone users among women, you will not find them forwarders very frequently. So that's the reason I said that if women are more users of technology, maybe we'll have less forwards and we have more deeper connection and more valuable connections. And that's the ground situation. And that's the reason why you will see that the penetration of technology, since it is less among women, there is, this is, patriarchal, as patriarchal our society is. It is misogynistic, it is bullying, it is trolling, and all against women. So why is it happening? Because we are still using technology at a very low level, used by women, and that too at a second hand, or that too afterthought, or that too after the male has used it or passed on. And that's very, very important that we see that, are we including, when we say, and ma'am, all of you said, 50% of the population are women. How many of these women are into the decision making of technology in politics or policy around technology? That's very, very important, because we men perhaps do not understand the meaning of technology and its relation to women and its relation to power and politics and use of technology. And that's the reason why it is not as equal as we would wish to be, or as we wish the democracy to be. So it's very, very important that we look at how fast we can make technology used by women at all levels. Is it possible that we create policy? When you are a parliamentarian, Can we ask you to push technology to be used as equal by women as by men? Can we push those policies? Can we create those advocacies which allows both in education level, in politics level, in health level, use of technology equally participated by women? That's very, very important. And these are and you will see, because we have 700 centers all over the country, and most of them run by women. And we have seen that all our digital resource centers in rural India, which is run by women, are much better managed, much better accountable, much better responsible, much better, in terms of taking responsibility and delivering services to the masses. And it is much better used by women in a manner that is not really only about forwarding or creating bad messages or forwarding misinformation and so on and so forth. So, I would just like to end by saying that when we say women, technology, and politics, we have to see here technology as a medium, as a communication, as a part of our life. And therefore, if we talk about the politics of this, it is extremely important that how much participation of women are there in decision-making as technology is taking in our life. Thanks.
Thanks, Osama. Absolutely understood that there is a need for a very higher political discourse to ensure that the technology is accessed by women in large numbers. Okay, we'll come back to that policy aspect a bit later. Uh, there are a couple of things that came out that's also very interesting. The first thing is that this the sheer low numbers of women using a digital space is a major issue for us.
Absolutely.
Simply because in recent times, the political discourse is incredibly influenced by digital platforms. That means an increasing emphasis on digital platform, is it leading to a lower participation of women or her ability to raise or amplify her voice or to be heard? Now, I'm going to pose this question to all three panelists. So let me start with Atishi ma'am. Do you think this disparity or lack of access by of technology by women, is it affecting their political participation? Are they being increasingly handicapped to raise their voice and their concerns and participate in political discourse? They're already vulnerable because they are women. Is technology making them, or lack of access to technology making them even more vulnerable? So I will start with you, Atishi.
So I think that I would not say that it's making them more vulnerable. I think fortunately that given the fact that electoral politics does require a lot of votes for every politician to win, that I think is really the saving grace of our country. The fact that that is probably the only reason why every politician of every political party stays in touch with their voters, their constituencies, be it men, be it women, etc., because they need their votes. And I think that is really the big strength of Indian democracy, and it is this accountability that keeps our political system ticking. And I think that in that much, women's votes are important, and there is no doubt. I think I've seen in my party, I see our friends in other political parties as well, that I think politicians are very cognizant of the fact of responses of women voters. And they are very cognizant of the fact that they have to reach out to them, that they have to reach out to their concerns. So if there is, there might be a lot of problems with the politics of our country, but because of the fact that this democratic spirit and the idea of elections and everyone going out and casting their vote is so deeply entrenched in this country, and that is really what ensures that politicians remain responsive to the concerns of the people. So I think that, yes, there is no doubt that women are vulnerable. There is no doubt that it's an unequal world, it's an unequal society. There's no doubt that even voting preferences get affected by men. But there is also no doubt that politicians are cognizant of the fact of how women voters are going to be responding. And I think that is really where I see, that is the direction in which I see hope as well. In fact, I would probably, if you were to ask me, I would put my money, I would put my bets on our electoral system rather than on technology to actually improve the lot of women. And because that really is I think the biggest mechanism of accountability that exists. Do it, they make it them more vulnerable? I don't think that's the case. The reason that's not the case is because it might not give them additional access, but I think it definitely does not make them more vulnerable. The thing that I do feel is that women probably need to be far more organized as voters. I think politicians often, I think what affects the political class the most is often how different groups, segments, interest groups vote as blocks for their interests. And I think that, as I said, I would place my money on elections really and on democracy, as that can lead to the betterment of women. I think that if women were to organize themselves better and to make their demands in a more consolidated manner, I think that really is the way forward.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to ask a jointer to this. You just mentioned that, women has to become much more organized as a block. Now, as of now, there is also this opinion that in Indian politics, women are not considered as a homogeneous voting block. Why is it so according to you? And is there any way actually this digital tools and technology can help women to organize themselves better and thereby become a much powerful block?
I think women are, I think that different people become voting blocks across history at different points of time. And I think that, for example, in our past history of the past 20 years, 20, 30 years in Indian democracy, you can see how caste groups have become voting blocks. That was not necessarily the case. These caste voting blocks that one could so clearly see now in the last 20, 30 years, especially from the time of the Mandal Commission onwards, where you see a very clear trend. I think that with women as well, yes, of course, concerns are often different. The concerns of, for example, in Delhi, someone living in golf links would be very different from the concerns of someone living in a sort of a jhuggi in Bhawana area, for example. So yes, concerns are different, but I do feel that increasingly women do come together, and I think that probably you can see that organization far greater even in poorer localities than in middle class or upper middle class localities. Like, for example, my own constituency, I do see the fact that women, one of the demands that definitely brings women together is anytime there is a problem with water supply, for example. And it is really the women who come forward in an organized manner in large groups to take up the issues that affect them. And I think that probably because in urban areas you have greater proximity of residents, and in urban areas, especially in lower income groups, you have women also who are bread earners, because often both the men and the women of the households are going out to work. I think that is definitely a factor that makes a difference. Proximity makes a difference, and issues that affect their lives make a difference. So, like, you can see the fact that women do come forward for issues like access to water, issues regarding hygiene facilities, toilets in slum areas, electricity. So all of the issues that affect their lives, you do see women coming forward in large numbers. Can technology play a role? I guess I am somewhat of a technology skeptic. The reason I'm a technology skeptic is because I think that the divide is often very deep. That the chances of people organizing are far greater, especially for marginalized groups, are greater in face-to-face capacities. But I would like to be proven wrong. So,
Thank you so much. That's very interesting. Diya Kumari ji, I'm going to ask the same question to you to get your perspective. That in today's world, is this lack of access to digital spaces and technology for women, particularly in the constituency where you come from, the area where you come from, where you mentioned that they're already conservative, is it proving to be more vulnerable for them because they don't have access to those tools and devices, which can get them better informed or get better information or get them better organized? what is your experience, and how will you look at it in terms of organizing the same vulnerable groups into a block or a relevant voting block which can gain prominence? And do you think technology to play a role in organizing women, specifically in conservative societies like in Rajasthan? Yeah.
Yes. I think women definitely don't have as much access to, digital technology and the tools required for them to be connected digitally as much as men do. Even in, I think, Rajasthan, of course, since it's way more conservative. But at the same time, I feel, you know, even like in a lot of villages, gram panchayats, there is also the problem of connectivity. The mobile connectivity, Wi-Fi connectivity, that is in the first place not available. So for them to be able to connect to you through WhatsApp, through the net, through on Facebook or anything else is the problem. So even not just for the ladies, for even the men, it's a challenge which we are trying to overcome now. In fact, in Rajasmand, I've got the digital Gaon scheme that has been sanctioned for Rajasmand constituency and for the district. So all my gram panchayats will be connected digitally. There'll be a digital lab. Everyone there will have access to, of course, all the various schemes that are available, the government schemes. The women will have, access to a lot of things which are women centric. We will have telemedicine, tele-law, all these things available. So that's a separate thing that I'm just telling you because that's something that has just been for my area. So I'm really, really happy that at least they will be connected and that this will include men and women, of course. But where women are concerned, I think, the thing is that sometimes I feel women are a little, they hesitate. Even if you give them a smartphone, they are going to say, oh, what will I do with this? I don't know how to operate it. I don't know how to connect to, Facebook. So I think for this, there has to be much more awareness. I think government needs to get more involved at the grassroots level, have more programs where we actually train these women, like I said earlier, we need to have more workshops to train these women what to do with a smartphone, what to do with a laptop. It's not about the men not letting them get these things, the men being a little thing that, oh, why should these women get access to all these tools? It's a lot to do with also these women being a little bit, very not too, open to it, especially in states like Rajasthan. And I think also safety, because many times, women are trolled. If they feel that, oh, if we send this forward to somebody, like you said, they're not sending so many forwards. That's also because they feel a little bit, I don't know, they hesitate that if we send so many forwards, it goes to a man. What if he thinks we are trying to approach them? So it's also that fear in their mind, which they need to overcome. So I feel that's also a factor. So many ladies from my area are on Facebook, but then sometimes you see stuff being posted on the Facebook pages, which is not right. So that's also a factor. It's a deterrent, I feel. So all these things. So I think being maybe in parliament and at other levels, we need to make it safer for women to be in this digital world. We need to have some things put in place where this environment is safer, because that fear is there, not only with them, I would say with me. Not that I haven't been trolled. I have been trolled many times. Stuff has been posted on my Facebook profile also. So I think as women in general, we need to have more safety precautions, something where people can't just get away with it. Why don't they do it with the men? It's mostly the women who get affected by this. So that's a bit of an area of concern. We need to work on that. I feel. Yeah.
What will be your message for women who aspire to be in politics based on your own experiences?
No, I think they need to. I think all the women nowadays, women also have changed so much. I think with means to they've all got education. There are schools everywhere now, and they have colleges. So they're all being well educated. There are a lot of programs, there are a lot of NGOs working. So even where skills are concerned, they have the skills, they do all these courses. Women actually, if given the opportunity, they can do a lot. And sometimes they are far ahead of men as well. I would like to say that if they have they want to do things, they want to, change things, they want to, and of course, it requires a lot of effort. I think for women, it's a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging than it is for a man, because it's a mixed world, and sometimes you will see everywhere, no matter what we say, in any place, any state, there will be just like if there are 25 seats in Rajasthan, which are Lok Sabha seats, there'll only be 5 women or 3 women, 3 at the moment. So you see the divide. There is a divide. So that, of course, is there. So women don't get opportunities very easily. You sometimes need to fight for it. And any woman who wants to be in politics should be ready for that as well. But that doesn't mean you become aggressive and wild. I think you can put your point across very firmly and in a positive way. And so yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this. I'm going to Jothimani ji. I'm going to pose the same question and also an added one. In your experience, you also mentioned that you're working in a rural area, and many women do not have access to smartphones and digital platforms like the urban counterparts or in other parts of the country. Do you think, because technology is becoming so prominent, increasingly prominent in politics right now, is it making women a little bit more handicapped in accessing information and sharing their opinion? Or do you think it's okay? And second question attached to that is, right now we are going through a COVID situation, and this COVID situation has changed the way we are looking at even the social spaces. Technology is becoming increasingly important in connecting people during this COVID times. Do you see that lack of technology in the post-COVID era is also going to affect, let's say, the governance and access to public services?
When it comes to women and technology, there is two different things, because only there is a younger woman and elder woman. Especially in rural areas, there are two issues with the access with the technologies. The problem is they work in the agriculture field, they back to the household duties, then childcare also strictly a woman responsibility. So this kind of multiple works makes women breaks. Literally, they don't have time to learn things. Second thing is the accessibility also issues, because when the financial situation is as such, only one mobile phone can get. So obviously for a father, the second one goes to a boy, not a girl child. Then even the woman in the textile labors. So my one constituency is about textile labor. The people who comes as a textile labors, I think they have a better access to technology. I think they have a smartphone. At least they will try. I will not say everyone using Facebook, but at least they try and see the WhatsApp. So in that level is there. But that also actually, I personally feel technology, why actually women hesitate to use technology. Also one side that there is also some level of vulnerabilities there. Recently, there is a Pollachi incident and followed by an Agarwal incident in Tamil Nadu. It's very brutal. Actually, group of young guys ganged up together and try to friend with women in the Facebook. It's all age groups. It started from 15 to it's went to 60, 45, 32, something like. And they friendly with them in the beginning. Again, they called them for over the coffee. These people innocently, because they knew them from the Facebooks, they thought they can be good friends and went out. And they mixed something in the coffee and they raped them and videographed them and used that videograph and rape them again and again. And multiple people join in later. Finally, one woman has the guts to go and complain. So that lady also, police named the victim so that other woman will not come to the complaint against the law. So in such cases, actually, we should be more careful with technology, especially in rural area. You need certain level of assertiveness, smartness also needed to handle the technology. But despite that, I personally feel technology can empower a woman a lot. It can bridge the gap. You can learn many things. You can try and reach out to places where decisions are made. You can get motivated. So technology also bridging the gender gap a little bit, because just only men have the access, or the boy has the access at the home, then women do not know anything about it, then that also create a kind of knowledge gap that create a lot of issues. But with, even in my sense, my experience, even without the technology, women's actually observing things around them and what are the personal things they are going through, either economically or politically or whatever the gender discrimination, they are having a very strong knowledge about it. What I have seen, especially in Tamil Nadu context, uh, even you can fool people using WhatsApps, but you cannot fool the woman in the ground. They are very accurate. There, I have following 4-5 elections. Actually, with the reason actually they voted, the way they voted, the mandate the government got, is something is very, very interesting. It's not very easy to cheat women just because they do not have any access to technology. So that's there. COVID-19 specifically, I think it might change things in terms of the way people like us reach out to people, how we connect with people more, how we discuss the issues. Because I, maybe in this COVID time, actually people like me have participated more interaction than ever, of maybe of the field. So that way, it maybe politicians, it might change much, but as in the ground, as a then there is a data was given earlier that how much connectivity women generally have. So that might not affect them much. In terms of technology, I in principle agree that it can change lives. We have seen 20 years before, somebody would have tell us that there is something called a weaponry. We might not agree, might laugh at people. Rajiv Gandhi, when brought the technology, actually was teased by almost everybody. So now the rest is history. But technology, but there is also one thing I feel earlier also it was discussed that, and then technology like artificial intelligence as a kind of a technological discrimination. When there are issues that when we apply for a job, there is an automation which generally select more men than a woman. It's just because the technology is made in such a way that actually it's done by men, because generally you see the specialist field like science, technology, and engineering and maths. So these are all the fields women not generally get into much. These are all generally occupied by the men. They are only creating the technology. The number of men actually involving in creating technology is much, much higher than the women who are involved. So that also create a kind of gender bias, I feel. So when it comes to technology, it's nothing, it's not automatically, it's a gender neutral. You need a lot of effort to put in, make a technology even a gender neutral. Even the technology, how the technology is used, also we cannot assume it's gender neutral. Sometimes it's vulnerable to women, sometimes not.
Thank you. In fact, you posed a very, very interesting question issue here, which is the gender neutrality of technology. And I'm going to throw this question to Osama now. That how do we engender technology and digital platform? You mentioned about the need for the political decision makers and the policy makers to be more aware of ensuring that democratization of technology happens. But how do we look at the other side of technology creators and ensure that there is an engendering process that happens? Osama, you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. I'm glad that Jyoti told about the artificial intelligence as an example. Actually, artificial intelligence, the way it has been developed, has proven that technology is white, technology is biased, technology is upper caste, because the developers are, for example, there is this face recognition technology, which actually says that, there is a bias in the face recognition when it comes to darker skin, because it is not developed properly from making it tested or tried on darker skins or something like that. So and that's the reason why I said tech policy, and that's the reason why I'm saying is that we need to also find out how many coders we have in a woman. Are there enough women who are part of the coding? Because everything now is technology. So that's very, very important that that aspect that has been found out. I think the only way we can have the technology function in a gender neutral manner is by more and more participation as user, more and more participation as developer, more and more participation as policymakers. And therefore, you look at it, I mean, I'm going to give you a very positive example, because I'm sure it will be the last round of discourse. I'm just coming about half an hour before from Alwar, and I was in a deep village there with an NGO called Sapna, run by this ex-IPS officer called Sudhir Pratap Singh. And I was sitting with his school with a teacher who was planning how to conduct online classes. And I asked her that, you are sitting in a rural area, all your students, 187 students, are all in villages. And she said that in the last 3 months, because she announced that all the classes are going to be, online, most of the villagers started buying smartphones. And she said that 70% of her students who didn't have a smartphone is now a smartphone, and their mothers actually insisted that they should have a smartphone so that they can be online and they can access education while the classes are going on. So that was a very happy news that I just got, and we are going to add this into our survey and research that DF is doing with C3, one of the organization. And so therefore it is very important that we find, in terms of policy, in terms of decisions, in terms of marketing, in terms of penetration of devices, all these, how we make technology penetrated as much as used by the women as possible, because the more they are being used, the more equal they are going to be, and the less ignored they are going to be. And that's very, very important, and we all have to do at our level. For example, 2 of you are in rural areas. I mean, let me know if I can help you in making technology penetrate your maximum number of rural areas. I mean, we can help, but that's very, very important.
Thank you so much, Osama. Now, I also understand that Honorable Diya Kumari ji has to leave to attend some other pre-commitments as of now. But while thanking Diya Kumari ji on behalf of NETRI and SheThePeople, I also want to ask you, Diya Kumari ji, one last question before you leave. What is that we can expect from you as a honored policy maker and a parliamentarian in terms of amplifying this voice from all of us to the decision makers of the country? What can we expect from you as a policy maker?
No, like I said, I think the whole environment, the digital environment, has to be safer, and I think women need to be a little bit more comfortable with this. Right now, because of lack of access to digital technology, to the means to digital technology, a lot of women are not really aware of what this whole thing is all about. So they need to be sensitized. They need to be more comfortable. The whole thing has to be made, and safe. I think safety is a big one. Like the Honorable MP before me also said that there was an incident in her area where there was something that happened, and that was also very wrong, and that was over social media on Facebook. So I think we need to, the cyber laws have to be a little bit more, they need to be thought of. Maybe some safety measures need to be brought in to protect women. And I think if that is brought in, few more workshops at the Gram Panchayat level, women need to be taught how to use digital technology. how to use all the various government schemes on their own without the help of the males in the house. And also, how to, it's so easy. E-commerce now, everything is done over the digital technology. You can get so many things done. Women also need to be, how to e-banking, all of these things. Financially also much more aware of how to use technology. They can do everything from their smartphones now, but they don't know how to do it. This is not something that is taught at the school level or even in college so much. So that education we need to somehow, get that going, and get more, maybe more computer training is there, but not up to the level of them being able to do all of this on their own. So that needs to be done. I think there is a huge gap there. Women are still very, very unsure of how to use this technology, how to get on these all these different social media platforms. They are still very unsure. They will ask the male member in the family, what should I do now?
Thank you
That
so
should
much.
not happen. They should be able to do it on their own. So that's the divide which we need to kind of, make a difference in, and that divide has to be
Thank you so much.
made
And our expectation and a request to you as an honorable member of the parliament is to please take this topic at the earliest possible opportunity in the parliament, and we'll be delighted to have your voice and your support in taking up this issue at greater levels.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Back, there are three very interesting things that has come out of this discussion. Before I go to the last round of questions to our panelists, based on those excellent observations and comments, there are three things. Number one, though often it is said that technology is a great leveler, it does not discriminate. Well, the real picture on ground is slightly different. While the technology itself might not be discriminating, there are valid arguments that the digital exclusion and the digital divide due to access of technology or lack of access of technology is a prominent issue, and we need to address it as earliest. The second is that while social and internet media platform have become a great force in the lives of common people, there is also a growing concern on the use of such spaces to manipulate and influence thinking and action of users. Neutrality is compromised at certain point of time, and more important, the safety and security of women is becoming a big issue because of those misuse of those digital spaces. And the third issue is while we are talking about digitalization of democracy, there is also a need for us to democratize the digital spaces and digital platforms. Now, my next question is to Atishi ma'am. Having put all this into perspective, you have been a passionate advocate of modern and regenerate the education system, not only in Delhi, but across India. You have been working around that. How can the education system in India, working with those young minds, okay, to the teenagers level, even beyond, how can it actually help us to address those two or three major issues, including the divide that we are talking about, including the safety and security of women, the neutrality that we are talking about, and bring about a democratic value to digital world? How will you go about it? What will be your suggestions?
See, I think education is, as it is, the key for a more equal world. And the fact that in today's world, you have far more women who are stepping out of their homes, far more women who are working, who are independent, who manage, who have enough finances to manage their own lives, are no longer dependent upon their fathers, on their brothers, on their husbands. As it is, I think eventually that is what this financial independence is, what is going to change the entire gamut of inequity that women face. I think it is this independence that is really the basis of a change in power dynamics. And I feel that really the basis for that is coming from education, because finally it is education that is going to give access to social mobility. It is with education that is going to give access to jobs. It is with education that women get computer literate, get digitally more literate, get financially more literate. So even in terms of small scale enterprises, even in terms of things like cooperatives, etc., possibilities in rural areas, all of those go up substantially if the women population is more educated. So I think that be it the digital divide or be it trying to break any kind of inequity that exists in society, I think education really has a key role to play. And I think one of the things that I have seen in the past 5 years when we have been working on schools is just that when you improve the education system, you can just see how the confidence level of girls changes. And it is that confidence level that is going to make them sort of take initiative to access digital technology. It is that confidence that is also going to probably make them safer when they are accessing, be it digitally or other mediums, etc. Because what is it that people take advantage of as far as women are concerned? Is the fact that they feel that they are novices, the fact they feel that they don't know how to use the digital space. If they step out of their homes, they don't know the areas, localities well enough, they cannot travel on their own, etc. So it is this access to knowledge and access to information via education. I think that's the only way forward to actually bringing equity.
Thank you so much. And what will be
Thank
your...
you. And I will also have to take...
Yeah, I know that.
leave.
So this is the last comment or the last words.
Yeah.
We want you to say something to those millions of aspiring young women in India who are looking forward to join politics, and based on your own personal experiences, what will be your message to them?
So my message to all young women, all young people, I think that I always strongly urge young people, and especially young women, to come into politics, because I think that politics is really one of the only ways in which you can bring about change on a large scale. And I think in India, as it is, we see politics as very dirty business, and all people from well-educated households, women especially, are told to keep a good distance from politics because politics is a gandhi cheez over here. And I think that is really the barrier everyone needs to break, because until you have women in decision-making roles, you will not have policies that are naturally made in favor of women. Because, however, even if you were to assume that the men who are in decision-making positions are concerned about women's issues, they don't have that lived experience to know what is it that the interventions that would actually make a difference in a woman's life. And so I think it's extremely important that the youth of our country, especially the young women of our country, do come forward, step out of their homes, have the courage to make this decision. And I'm sure that the more youth and the more young women participate in politics, as they are now doing in the job market, I think that India would be a very different country in 20 years from now.
So much, Atishi. Absolutely fabulous to listen to your perspectives and points. And we do wish you all the best. And thanks from all of us, from NETRI, from SheThePeople, for joining this panel. And we hope that you'll be able to spend some more time with us. But thank you so much. Yeah. I will move on to Jothimani now. You have been a champion of women from rural areas, and you have fought for their rights throughout your career, right? With this divides becoming increasingly prominent right now, and you also mentioned about the vulnerability that women are facing today because of those safety security issues related to digital media. What should be the role of politicians and policymakers like you in addressing those issues at large, and how should India's the governance, the decision making, the political leadership move towards in addressing these issues? What will be your suggestion and recommendation?
It's not only about technology misused. It's about the mindset. It has to be dealt from the school itself, school syllabus itself. See, when whether it's from the family or from the society, it's from the school, children are taught women are actually woman as a body. They are actually they do not have any knowledge or wisdom. Men can do anything. It simply become a slave. If men express something, if you do not agree with that, then you can go and attack them. You can throw acid on their face. You can rape them. This is an idea actually going into the young minds. This needs to be addressed in the beginning. This is the when we go for only strengthening a cyber laws, judicial system, that's all already enhanced. The issues it's not implemented. Even the it's implemented, it's in a very pathetic way it's implemented. So the best way to go and address the root cause of the problem, which I personally believe that we need to have a very good conversation with the young minds. After the Nirbhaya incident, even before that, there was some efforts made by the Ministry of Rural Development when the Congress Party was in power. So they created a separate syllabus to address this. Then there is no counselors in the schools like Western countries. The schools are actually, when then you go and complain something to the family, then immediately first thing they do, don't go to the, tell the girl child that don't go to school, as if that's her problem. She created the problem rather than a victim. So then the school system has to provide the support to them. Then they also have a conversation with the young boys. So this is the best thing to deal the harassment, to go and walk with the root cause of the problem. So people like me, lawmakers, has to work on this direction rather than diverting our energy on cyber securities or the judicial system, which is already exist.
Back to you in a couple of minutes for your final words. Let me move to Osama right now. Osama.
I also.
Yes.
I also would like to thank Osama for his support. We'll be in touch with him. We might need technology more.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll surely do that. Right. We know that there are increasing incidences and evidences of different kind of personalized cyberbullying, personalized attacks on one side, to certain at an individual level, to organized efforts in terms of unethical use of data to influence the systems at large. Okay, this has been studied, recorded, and there are a lot of cases also come up around this. Are such practices in general posing a specific and particular threat to women to exercise their political rights? How can we fix this issue? You already mentioned about advocacy, the need for the political leadership to take notice of this, etc. But what will be your one or two top level specific recommendation to address it quickly?
I'm glad that you asked that. As you know, technology, we are talking technology, women and politics, but we all know that technology is not just technology. Technology is media, technology is in the hands of everyone, and technology is power in democracy. And you are seeing that more and more democracy and governance is going in the hands of companies who run technology as a media, and more their marriage to the government is also giving technology in the hands of the government. I mean, for example, somebody was asking question that, unabashedly, government is banning websites which is doing a role of activism, even environmental activism. What is this? I mean, how can you just block a website? Similarly, if we are talking about more and more women in technology, are you going to block the voices of women, just because, the government and the governance and the technology is run by men? So it's very important that we see, I have no answer to this, but I'm just saying that there is a dirty marriage between technology and governance, and technology companies and government. And therefore, it is very important that we see how technology is participated, used very, very openly and without any authoritarianism, and democratically. That's actually is being challenged all over the world. And India is one of the examples where it is being seen every day in, day out. The same Twitter will ban something, but will not ban something else. The same Twitter will drop some messages and give notice to some of the messengers, but it will not give to some others. We also know that the same technology is used by political parties for misinformation and fake news, and the same technology is used to fight it. There is a serious issue that technology is passing through. It is certainly thought that it will empower democracy, but I think there is a book that everybody should read, which is How Internet is Actually Killing Democracy. Because it is gone in the hands of rogue technological companies and the rogue government power. So the reason why I said in the beginning is that technology and democracy both can be saved by women is because the more and more they participate, because they will empower technology, and that's very, very important, which is actually being taken over by men all over the world. And I mean, for example, I was saying some of the very short policy. I mean, I was thinking about connectivity. Why connectivity cannot be subsidized for women access? Why technological devices like mobile and smartphone can be sold on half the rate if the woman is buying? Why not? All the schools which is actually closed, their midday meal is not being distributed. Why can't all the money that you have saved for midday meal is being converted into providing devices to the children of rural India, who has stopped going to school? So, like internet, I mean, somebody is saying, Anusha is saying that internet should be the fundamental right. Yes, of course, internet should be fundamental right. And under USO fund, in the Ministry of Telecom, there should be a special arrangement of providing access, bandwidth, devices, technological goods, gadgets, everything on a subsidized cost for women. And that's how we can have more and more women participating into it. Thank you.
Interesting. One last question, and I want your answer in a minute. What will be your message for all those young girls, women who want to become politically active and they have aspirations in political life? What will be your message to them?
Life is politics, whether you like it or not. The day you are born, you are part of the politics. So I would say, stop worrying about that politics is a bad word. It will continue to be a bad word if you don't participate. So I would say that everybody should participate in politics and take away the bad name from politics by participating into it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In fact, the whole digital space, the digital media, the technology platforms are a part and parcel of today's life. It's about our values, it's about our principles, it's about our life and death situations. But for many, it's just business. That's where we are right now. And I'm going to give you the final the chance for the final words, Jothimani ji. You have been an inspiration for many in the country, specifically for young women who wants to be active in politics. What will be your message? What will be your suggestion? And your words will be enormous inspiration for all of them and also for us. Your message to young women. Yeah.
Young women, I said, actually do join politics. Like Osama said, politics is everywhere. It affects women very badly because we go through oppression, we go through discrimination, we go through everything under the sun. So get into the place where you can make decisions and decide your fate. And the one shortest way to come politics, don't think just because dirty world of politics comes where you directly jump into the political party, your family will get scared. But there is another way of getting into politics is just go and run the election. And once you complete 21, there is a civic elections, panchayat elections everywhere. There is even in rural areas, in even the panchayat elections, there is no party symbol. There are many young women. This time in Tamil Nadu, somebody was student is got elected as a panchayat president. There you will get to know your life better, and you will you will be a different person once you fight an election in rural areas in the very grassroots. That's the best way to get into politics, my opinion. I did it in the same 23 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to personally thank both Jothimani and Osama for being part of this fabulous discussion. Your words were so important, so interesting, and has given a different perspective to the topic that we have been discussing today. And on behalf of NETRI and on behalf of SheThePeople, thank you so much. Now, we have come to the last 1 minute. It's quite difficult to sum up such an enriching range of dialogues that we have had, right? But at the same time, what came out quite strikingly is that, uh, of course, there is a digital divide. Of course, there is a discrimination in terms of access to some of those services, technology, gadgets that we have, etc. But let not that be a
5 minutes, 10
discouraging
minutes.
factor, a hindrance for women to get into politics. That's what came out fabulously from all the panelists that we had, right? We need to overcome. We have in life over years, we have even faced much severe challenges. So treat it as one of those challenges to overcome, rather than treating it as a hurdle that'll an impossible hurdle for you. That's number one. We also came to discuss that there are, uh, in spite of the growing numbers in terms of digital outreach and digital use and data use, there is a lot of things for us as a country, as a nation, to resolve, specifically looking at access to that technology, democratization of that technology, ensuring that people, the vulnerable groups, specifically women and girls, are feeling much more safe and secure for in terms of using that technology and the digital space, right? I do hope that these words, this topic that was discussed today, becomes continues to get increasingly talked about in different levels. And let's all wish and hope for a day when in India we are able to use technology not just to influence people the way we want, but also as a tool for a personal development, human
Empowerment.
and nation building. Right. Thank you so much, and I hand it over back to Kanksshi. Yeah, thank you so
Thank you
much for having me.
so much. I think every word has been that has been spoken on this panel today. I am deeply
Thank you so
grateful
much.
to Osama sir, to Jothimani ji. You are an inspiration. I think, I've been following your journey, and I think you shot to this national fame only, after you winning the election. But and as soon as I came to know about you and your journey, I've been a fan, and I can say that equally, with equal passion for all the other two panelists as well. In my team, there are so many people who are like big fans of Atishi ji and Diya Kumari ji, for their indomitable spirit. I think women need role models, and for every word that has been, as I will say again, that every word that has been spoken is so inspiring, and also it came from so many points of information that only you could have given us. And I'm really thankful for this discussion. We couldn't take participants questions because the discussion was going in its own flow, and we had such great points coming in. But I would request all the participants to send in their questions to us. We will try and get them answered through people who can answer them. But thank you, and I will officially reach out to all the four panelists who were here today to also join the advisory board for NETRI in the times to come. Krishnan is our advisor from day one, and I really thank him for moderating this discussion so well. Thank you, Jothimani ji, and thank you, Osama ji, and people, and Diya ji and Atishi ji, who left earlier than this last moment. So thank you again for everybody
Thank
joining in,
you.
and I
Thank
will
you.
bring
Thank
this
you very
forward.
All the
much.
good wishes
Thank
to
you.
you too.
Thank you. Bye
Thank you.
bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you.